The Dragon Quest venture continues on with Dragon Quest 2. So with that all being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. As always, got you covered with timestamps down below. If there's a certain section you want to skip to, feel free to do so. All I ask is you to support the channel and hit that thumbs up button. So my Dragon Quest certainly does continue here, and if you want to hear where I have been with this and how this all started, please go watch the Dragon Quest 1 video. It'll give you a good introduction, but to nutshell it for you guys that are coming into this one hot, essentially I've never played a Dragon Quest game except the beginning of Dragon Quest 8 when it first came out. I was very stubborn and I didn't like it because it wasn't Final Fantasy. I then dove into Dragon Quest 11 and I did about 3/4 of it. I've played Monsters and Treasures, and then I finally decided to venture into the series by playing Dragon Quest 1. Again, watch that video if you want to be caught up with it. And I have played Dragon Quest 4. So here I am with Dragon Quest 2, played it on the Nintendo Switch, which I believe is the mobile port. So all the footage you'll be seeing is from that version, and the version I'll be talking about is that version. So let's dive straight in. So I'm going to start off by diving into a brief synopsis of Dragon Quest 2, Luminaries of the Legendary Line. A century has passed since the events of the first Dragon Quest, during which time the descendants of the hero of Alfgard have forged 3 new nations, but the peace they have known is no more. Demon hosts summoned forth the darkness by High Priest Hagen have brought the land to the brink of ruin once again. Now the young prince of Maidenhall must set out to find the other 2 descendants of Erdrick, so that together they might defeat the nefarious Hagen and restore peace to their world. And that is pretty much the story in a nutshell. That is what you are doing. And again, there isn't much to it. Much like Dragon Quest 1, it's very A to B kind of things, but the unique thing here is that we have 2 extra characters and we are not just soloing it with the hero this time. We are accompanied by characters that are tied into the story. These are not just random characters that join you on your quest. We have the Prince of Cannock, which I had named as Paul, and we had the Princess of Moonbrook, who I had named as Maria. It pretty much follows the trait of the characters of Dragon Quest 1 with them being quite vague, but Dragon Quest 2 again has a little bit more to it. There's a little bit more at stake, etching out the quest that is at hand because we have important figures. We already play as a prince, we are accompanied by another prince and princess, and we need to save the world. So overall, not a bad story, but not one to be like, this is the greatest story in RPG history. So I think we should just dive straight into the gameplay here, and I like to start off with exploration. Now, the thing I liked about this, I already knew that Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 are all connected and take place in the same world, but I didn't connect the dots at first as I was playing. So I was going through the world map, very A to B like Dragon Quest 1, but then I started to come across places that I remember from Dragon Quest 1, and I was just like having these aha moments and just realizing how much the world has actually expanded since Dragon Quest 1, and I was really enjoying going back to these locations, seeing how they changed and how things had adapted since Dragon Quest 1, and that the fact that the world was at ruin again. Like I've just said, A to B, very simple. You want to be speaking to the NPCs to get an inkling of where to go next. You want to be collecting certain items to be able to bypass certain blocks to progression, and once you've got all that sorted, you're kind of on your way. It's very self-explanatory. These old school Dragon Quest games just rely on yourself, your intuition, and just talking to NPCs and fighting battles along the way to make sure that you're at the appropriate level. Apart from that, not much to say. There's a few treasure chests here and there in the dungeons that will help you along the way. No complaints. It might be a little bit too old school for newer players, but I thoroughly enjoyed it playing it on the Switch. So let's move on to combat, and combat is pretty much the same. We have random battles that we encounter through dungeons and the world map. It works a lot like Dragon Quest 1, where there are going to be certain leveled enemies in certain areas, so you kind of get a gauge of where you need to be at or where you shouldn't be going just yet. So you can just go out and grind and enjoy yourselves. And the thing thing that's different, like we said before, is we have 2 additional characters that have their own traits, and it really brings a bit more to the table. You're not just relying on 1 character now, you have 3 to play around with, and as you level them up and unlock all the spells, battles will get incredibly easier. But if you don't go out your way to grind, you'll probably encounter some walls where you'll think, okay, I need to go out and do some combat. So essentially, the loop I got myself into was I went to my next area, I grinded, I got some money, I went to the shop to equip items and make sure I had the right items. There's some really cool items in this game that can enhance battle and make things a little bit easier for you. So do that and you shouldn't have a bad time with it. And I just loved experimenting and messing around with that. Not much out of the way of just attack, magic, and the items you equip, but this is Dragon Quest II. What do you expect? It's very true to the point, and I really enjoyed what I played. I think one thing that I do wish playing these old school Dragon Quest games is a feature to just kind of speed up battles, or even an auto battle, so I can just get through this grinding as quick as I can, because it does take that old school approach where I'm going to have to keep bashing the confirm button to get the battles done. But this is old school Dragon Quest. What am I expecting here, right? So that would be the only thing I change. I thought they might have done something like that when it comes to the Nintendo Switch version, but you know, it is what it is. And that's pretty much it for gameplay. Very short and sweet and to the point. I just wanted to share my experience. But one thing I did thoroughly enjoy was the music of Dragon Quest. I'm really kind of getting into the Dragon Quest sound now, really enjoying the music as I play along. Battle themes, dungeon themes, overworld theme. It's just been a good time, and I just can't wait to continue on listening to this Dragon Quest sound and fall in love with all of its soundtracks. My final thoughts of Dragon Quest II would probably fall along the same lines of a lot of people's opinions. It's Dragon Quest I, but better, improved. It's what a sequel should be. It should be basing itself on what made it good and just building upon those, adding new features, more characters to mess around with, more items to find, bigger world to traverse, and it does it all here. So when it comes in terms of, is it better than Dragon Quest I? Yes, it is. And I would be very interested to hear your thoughts with Dragon Quest II. My Dragon Quest venture continues. I've already skipped ahead to 4 and started to play the 4, 5, and 6 trilogy. I really want to dive back into 8. So what episode could be next? It is up in the air, but I'm hoping that you can stick around and join me for my first time Dragon Quest series. I appreciate you watching. If you want to see more Dragon Quest content, please consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell, getting involved in the comments, hitting that thumbs up button, because that really supports the channel too. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.